It's the year 1348 and you are slumped over your food stall in London waiting for customers, but there are none. The city is bare, without a person in sight. You notice the sun is beginning to set. Another day wasted, you think to yourself, before wiping down the stall and gathering what food is left. You are about to leave when a distinct scratching noise breaks the silence. Cautiously, you crouch down to peer behind some boxes, only to discover the most innocent looking rat you've ever seen. Thinking it's lost, you pick it up and put it in the palm of your hand. You look back at each other for a moment. Then, in an act of betrayal, it bites you, digging its huge two front teeth inside of your hand. You're mortified and proceed to smash it with all your might. It's dead now, and so with teary eyes, you lob the rat into the river. What he doesn't know is that a much more deadly threat has already pierced his skin. 3 days after the incident, you're back at your stall and business is booming. Crowds of buyers are flooding every stall, including yours. The only thing bothering you is a splitting headache and the feeling of pure exhaustion. You wipe the sweat from your forehead and soldier on. The next morning, you notice that things have gotten even worse. You can't find the energy to get out of bed, and your fever is skyrocketing. You feel a hard purple lump on your neck. It's oozing pus and all sorts of bad stuff. You have no friends or family to help you, so you lie there, rotting away, hoping this will soon blow over. It doesn't blow over. Looking half comatose, you remember who founded that food stall. Your father. You promised him that you would never go a day without carrying on the tradition of the food stall. Again, with tears in your eyes, you muster all the remaining strength in your body and stand on your feet. You walk towards your front door, open it, and you blacked out half outside your front door. You don't know how long you was unconscious for, but your vision is now blurred and there's sick on your chest. 7 days later, and you're back in bed. You're confused, delirious, shaking, covered in vomit, and sweating from head to toe. At this point, you look like a large purple lump waiting to pass away, and eventually you do. You think about the food stall one last time before taking your final breath. Nobody knew for a long time what was causing these people to perish. On top of that, it spreads very efficiently, primarily via fleas carried by rats. There were no antibiotics, and isolation methods were either non-existent or ineffective, allowing this disease to spread rapidly. Imagine you're sitting in a small burger shop, the air thick with the smell of grilled beef and toasted buns. You take a bite. Warm, juicy, perfectly salted. It's good, really good. For a moment, nothing else matters but the taste. But then something lingers. Not a flavour exactly, not something you can name, just a quiet thought that slips in between the bites. The texture feels slightly off. You pause, look down at it. It looks normal, smells normal. You tell yourself you're overthinking it, and swallow anyway. You're home now, stretched out on the couch, flicking through the channels. Then without warning, the people on the screen start to smear. The faces blur together like wet paint and you have trouble making out what the people on the TV are even saying. You sit forward, trying to focus. But the words won't make sense anymore. You start to panic and rush to the kitchen for a glass of water. You open a cupboard for a glass, but they're not there. Another cupboard? Not there. You've lived here for years. Why can't you remember where the cups are? You open every cupboard and grab a glass. Just as you reach for the tap, your vision returns and you're pondering as to what just happened. Little does this man know, something is wrong with his brain. Doctors call it Creutzfeldt-Jakob Disease, or CJD for short. This means that tiny misfolded proteins called prions are invading his brain and eating away at his memories, until it resembles the density of a sponge with thousands of tiny holes. This causes the brain to shrink as it is invaded from the inside out. This is a list of what can happen in the early stages, the middle stage, and the end. Eventually, you'd be left completely dependent on other people, making this disease especially horrifying, as it strips away your ability to walk, talk, and eventually even swallow food. Doctors can diagnose this, but they can't stop it. There is no cure. Within months, you're no longer you, and there is no recovery story. It's a late night after your shift at the office. You're home again, slouched on your dusty armchair, flat, warm beer in hand with the TV crackling. Squinting at the TV, you take another sip. Empty. You push yourself up from the couch and wander into the kitchen for another beer. You lazily toss the empty can towards the bin. It hits the pile of cans inside and bounces straight back out onto the floor. You stare at it for a moment. The bin is completely full. With great hesitation, you grab the rubbish and drag it outside. It's dark and quiet, except from the faint buzzing noise coming from the street lamp that lights up your garbage cans. And that's when you see it. Something has completely trashed your driveway, knocking the bin on its side. You're about to throw a temper tantrum when a loud rattle comes from within the bin. At first you jump out of fear, but then anger takes over. You're furious. Now you know who's responsible for making the mess, and you will not let them get away with it. You confidently walk toward your trash can and are about to reach inside when suddenly 2 dark red eyes reveal themselves to be looking right back at you from the darkness. Before you can react, a crazed raccoon shoots from out of the trash can and attaches itself onto your face, clawing, scratching and biting at you at every opportunity it gets. After a beating, you rip it off and quickly hurry back inside. 4 weeks later, you're back in your chair, your wounds have healed and you feel better than ever. Unbeknownst to you, a deadly virus is silently moving up your nervous system and towards the brain. Another month later, you wake up with a horrendous fever, as well as a strange burning and tingling sensation all over your face. You call in sick to work to your boss, not understanding that for you, it's already too late. A couple of days later, and you're a mess, crouched in the corner of your room, scratching at your skin and foaming at the mouth. Confused and hallucinating, you hear faint dripping sounds from the tap in the other room. Your throat spasms and you freak out uncontrollably. It's your 3rd day without sleep now, and no matter what you do, you can't seem to get any shut-eye. Before long, your breathing muscles stop working and you fall into a coma before you inevitably perish. Rabies is a viral infection that attacks the brain and nervous system. It spreads through the saliva of infected animals. The scary thing about this disease is that the moment you start showing symptoms, the chances of survival are almost always at 0. Once the disease is passed on to you, it hides inside of muscle tissue, slowly making its way through the nervous system towards your brain. Once it's there, it causes inflammation and severe brain damage, causing you irrational fear and no control over your body or your behaviour. If you ever get bitten by a wild animal, go to the hospital and get that rabies shot. What if I said there was a disease that infected almost every country on the planet? An illness that did not discriminate, as it targeted the young, old and fit. An airborne disease that ended the lives of more people than World War I itself. That disease is the Spanish flu. You're cramped, like a flock of sheep, knee-deep in the filth of the trenches. Bullets are flying overhead and loud explosions ring your ears. Nothing you're not used to at this point. You signal your team that it's time to fire back. You all ready your weapons and begin firing recklessly over the top. When the gunfire stopped, a long silence followed, with the feeling that something wasn't quite right. In the distance, on the opposite side of the trench, you spot a young man curled up into a ball. You quickly run to his aid, only to find him completely still, with his mouth covered in blood. You look closer and find that his skin has turned a dark blue shade. You lay him down as a sign of respect and cover him in tarp. Later that night, you lie side by side with the other soldiers, trying to sleep. Then it hits you. A sudden chill runs through your body, and within seconds, you're covered in cold sweat. The next morning, you wake up feeling weak. There's a cough now too, and it won't stop. You step out into the trenches, and what you see isn't right. The men around you don't look like they did yesterday. Some are slumped against the trench walls, barely able to stand. Others are hunched over, coughing into their hands over and over again. One of them pulls his hand away from his mouth, and it's stained dark. A man a few feet away tries to speak, but it turns into a wet, choking sound instead. Another is lying on the ground, breathing fast, like he can't get enough air in. Then you notice their faces, pale, sweating, and one of them, a faint blue tint around the lips. They look exhausted, drained, like something is pulling the life out of them faster than their bodies can keep up. And as you stand there, trying to make sense of it, your chest tightens, the cough comes back, and this time, it's worse. Within 48 to 72 hours, a victim of the Spanish flu could easily pass away. Victims' bodies would turn a sickly blue colour from lack of oxygen, as your lungs slowly fill with fluid, causing low oxygen levels and eventual death. You spend the majority of the day hidden away. You have no strength left to fight. Every second is spent battling for your next breath. You lie on your back, looking at the sky, and with one last laboured pull, you take your final breath. The theory goes that the Spanish flu originated in Kansas in the USA, while others suggest outbreaks happened in France's military camps in 1916. Either way, it spread across the whole planet, infecting a third of the human race, ending the lives of 50 million to 100 million people.
you.